Welcome to Buddhism Seeds. Sleep is not a form of forgetting, but a doorway home to yourself. Do you feel tired? Not just tired from work, but tired because your mind won't stop running. There are nights when your body lies still, yet inside you, a quiet struggle unfolds, with the words you never had the chance to say, with the people who are no longer here, with the things you want to control, but never truly had in your hands. We often think that lying down and closing our eyes means we'll sleep. But in truth, many people sleep without ever getting any rest, because they're still holding on, because they haven't let go. And the way you let go at night shapes the life you wake up to in the morning. At Buddhism Seeds, we don't just invite you to fall asleep. We invite you to step into a meditative space, a space where you can remove the heavy armor you've carried all day. Tonight, you don't need to hold yourself together just to be okay. You don't have to pretend to be calm. You only need to be honest with yourself and gently give your mind permission to relax. Not everyone dares to enter the realm of stillness, but you're here, and that is enough to begin. Before we go any further, we invite you to pause and softly repeat this phrase like a kind, gentle commitment. From tonight on, I release what I cannot control. I choose peace. You don't need to believe it right away. Just say it, and let each breath carry those words into your cells, into every quiet corner of your mind. Because peace isn't something you find outside. It begins the moment you stop holding on to what is too heavy to carry into sleep. Let tonight become a ritual, a gentle journey back to yourself. Because maybe you will realize, when you stop trying to control, you begin to touch life. Have you ever lain in bed thinking you're resting, but your mind feels like it just turned on? You turn off the lights. Everything outside grows quiet. But inside, everything starts moving. Thoughts show up like lines of people waiting at the door of your mind. What do I need to do tomorrow? Did my words hurt someone? Why are they so silent? Why do I feel empty even after trying so hard today? The more you try to rest, the less you can stop. The more you try to stop thinking, the more active your mind becomes. You might think you're thinking to understand, but most of the time we think to escape. To escape the feeling of emptiness, to escape the fear of not being loved, to escape the anxiety about the future, and to escape the silence. We don't know how to face it. We search for answers in the noise of logic, the noise of memory, the noise of imagination. But true wisdom lies in the silence we fear the most. The Buddha once said, "When the mind is still, wisdom arises." That may sound too simple, but if you've ever sat in meditation, if you've ever allowed yourself to do nothing, just breathe and feel, you'll know this is not advice. It is truth. Imagine a large bell. It doesn't need to be struck. It resonates only when every other sound has settled. Only when the world around is quiet can you hear its deep vibration, a sound not coming from outside, but from pure presence itself. Your mind is like that. As long as it's filled with craving, chasing right and wrong, resisting and controlling, its wisdom remains hidden. Even if you've read many books and learned many teachings, you still may not see what needs to be seen. Because the loudest noise is not from the outside. It's from the ego, the self, that always wants to know more, do more, become more. It fears silence because silence is the place where it cannot exist. there is a strange paradox. The more we try to understand, the further we drift from the truth. Have you noticed this? The more you analyze a feeling, the more tangled it becomes. The more you try to explain a relationship, the more it hurts. The more you ask, why did they treat me this way? Or why am I feeling so sad? The deeper you fall into a maze. Because clarity doesn't come from figuring out right or wrong. It's not a product of logic. It is the natural unfolding of a clear heart, a heart that has let go enough to become quiet. Imagine a lake. When the water is rippling, the sky is distorted. But when the surface is completely still, the sky appears in full clarity. Your wisdom is just like that. It doesn't need you to try harder to appear. It just needs you to pause, to stop chasing answers, to stop analyzing right and wrong, to stop trying to figure out why someone is silent or why you feel not enough. Just be still. Just be present with yourself without conditions. And when the noise fades, truth will naturally reflect itself, like the moon mirrored on a quiet lake. So tonight, as you lay in bed, don't try to clear your mind. Don't try to figure anything out. Just sit with the noise and don't react. Listen to what is rising within you, then let it pass like clouds drifting across the sky. Because what you're truly seeking isn't in the words. It lives behind the words. It is healing silence. If you need to gently close your eyes now and whisper to yourself, I don't need to understand everything right now. I don't need to fix every emotion. I just need to be present and let my mind rest. Then take a deep breath, exhale slowly, and let everything return to where it belongs. You don't need control to be at peace. You only need to be present and to trust. In modern life, we carry so many things without even realizing it. Our minds are full of schedules, full of goals, full of other people's voices, and full of the endless whispers inside our heads. I'm not enough. I need to do something. I need to become someone. We want to be understood. We want to be acknowledged. We want everything to unfold the way we expect. So even when we sit down to meditate, to rest, or to relax, we still bring with us the desire for something to happen. We want to feel peace. We want to feel light. We want to receive a message. We want to see a result. But the truth is, meditation is not about gaining more. It's about realizing that we don't need anything more. Can you command a dream to appear? Can you control every breath while you sleep? Nature moves smoothly without your interference. It is silent. It knows the way. Wisdom is the same. It doesn't need to be created. It only needs you to allow it to appear in silence, in stillness. And that is the first lesson of meditation. Not to do more, but to do less. Speak less. Analyze less. React less. Impose less on your own mind. Just observe. Don't label. Don't conclude. Simply see. In Buddhism, this is called pure awareness or mindfulness, without thought, a kind of wakefulness that doesn't need to think or explain. Just seeing and letting it be. But this stillness for many people is frightening, because in silence they begin to hear themselves. They hear fear covered during the day by work. They hear anger hidden behind a smile. They hear loneliness that for years has never been named. And that is exactly why we need more silence. Because only when we dare to sit still without avoiding can we begin to see the true light within. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is the space where Dharma moves. Just as a seed can only sprout when the soil has stopped being disturbed, Your mind can only bloom when you stop. The Buddha once taught, "The one who knows how to stop sees. The one who doesn't only passes by." And it's true. If you are always in the state of what's next, I need to understand this. I need to feel that you will always remain on the edge of what truly matters. But if you stop, even for just one breath, what you're seeking will come to you without you chasing it. Then you will begin to hear the sound of stillness, not the knowing voice of the ego, but the voice of egoless wisdom, where there is no, "I am understanding," only understanding itself. It needs no reason to exist. It is the deepest part of you waiting for your return, and you don't have to go anywhere to find it. Just sit still for a moment right now. You are closer to yourself than ever before. Modern neuroscience has shown that the human brain operates in default mode when we are lost in endless thinking, worrying, or self-judgment. It's a state that exhausts us but brings no real wisdom. But when you stop interfering, just inhale, exhale, and observe your brain waves, slow down, your nervous system finds balance. Then the regions of the brain connected with deep awareness, the insula and compassion, the anterior cingulate begin to light up. You become lighter, clearer, and more awake, not because you think better, but because you think less and see more deeply. This aligns perfectly with the teaching in the sutras. When the mind is peaceful, wisdom arises. Both meditation and science point to the same truth. To see clearly, you must stop. No one can see the bottom of a lake while the water is still moving. Now try stopping for just a few seconds. Don't try to make it calm. Just listen. Hear the fan spinning slowly. Hear your breath rising and falling in your chest. Hear the wind brushing the wall, or simply the quiet rhythm of your own heartbeat. Sound is not meant to be understood, but to be felt. Now listen deeper, not to the outside, but within. Hear the stream of thoughts drifting silently. Hear an old memory passing by. Hear the emotions moving through your body, a bit of tension in the chest, a bit of dryness in the throat, or simply an uneven breath. Don't try to push them away. Don't resist. Just acknowledge that they are there. The moment you simply know without doing anything more, that is mindfulness in stillness. When you see without judgment. When you feel without escaping. When you are present without trying to control. When you observe without reacting, the energy of the mind begins to shift. Emotions are no longer problems to fix. They become a current waiting to be understood. Like a small stream, if you try to dam it, it will overflow elsewhere. But if you simply watch it flow, it will find its way back to peace. Every breath is a bridge connecting body and mind. Every moment of stillness is a doorway to wisdom. Wisdom doesn't come from reading more, studying more, or analyzing more. It arises when you are fully grounded in the present experience. In Buddhist teachings, this is called anatta, non-self, the root of all insight. As long as the mind still carries voices like, "I must understand," "I must be right," "I must make others change," then wisdom cannot arise. Because that very I is the root of all disturbance. It creates a boundary between me and the world, between right and wrong, between must do and must avoid. And while we're busy debating with reality, we lose the clarity that is already here. Wisdom does not come from the thinking self. It comes from a space of stillness where no one is thinking and only awareness is happening. Just like when you listen to someone with your whole heart, you are no longer listening to reply, but simply listening to understand. No interruptions, no judgment, no attempt to prove anything. And it is in that moment understanding arises. Not from effort, not from debate, not from books. It comes like soft light on still water. Only when the water is clear does the image become sharp. That is egoless wisdom. No one owns it, but anyone can touch it when the self no longer takes up space. When you are truly quiet, no longer trying to understand, that is when understanding actually appears. And you will realize, beneath all the noise, all the effort, all the struggle, wisdom has always been there, waiting for you to stop and see. Stillness is not only for the meditation hall. Stillness also belongs in your sleep, where the body relaxes and the mind has a chance to truly rest. But for so many, sleep is the place where the mind keeps working. Not in the light of day, but in the shadows of the unconscious, where unfinished worries, arguments, thoughts, and memories resurface. They carry into sleep their unfinished meetings, unspoken words, heavy glances, and even the silence of others they still don't understand. And then they wake up feeling like they never really slept. Not because the body didn't lie down, but because the mind never stopped. Shallow sleep is a symptom. It reflects something deeper. Your mind is still holding on, still trying to control, still trying to understand, still trying to do more even at night. But the Buddha taught, the wise one is not the one who knows a lot, but the one who knows how to stop at the right moment. Before you sleep, try this. Just sit still for a few minutes. No need for formal meditation. Just be still. Put down your phone. Place your hand on your chest. Feel your breath without changing it. And gently whisper in your heart, everything is done. Today is enough. This phrase is not just to soothe you. It is a statement of trust in the unfolding of Dharma, in the law of cause and effect, in the truth that things are moving in the way they need to, not necessarily in the way you want. When you can exhale gently with that truth, your mind begins to bathe in stillness. Stillness is not emptiness. It is fertile ground where the seeds of wisdom and compassion can grow. Stillness is the good karma of one who knows how to stop. And only when the mind truly stops can you see this miracle. Nothing needs to be added. Nothing needs to be taken away. This moment right here is enough. When you truly see that there's nothing more to prove, nothing more to finish tonight, then the rest you receive is not only physical rest, but an act of wisdom. From that stillness, compassion arises naturally. When your mind is no longer disturbed, you finally have enough space within to sense the suffering of others without being swept away by it. You listen without reacting. You connect without losing yourself. You act not just to get it done, but to live each moment deeply. Even if it's just a gentle gaze, a smile, or pouring a glass of water with full presence, that is living Buddhism. Not in a temple, but in your very sleep. Not while listening to a Dharma talk, but in the moment you exhale and quietly say to yourself, I don't need to control anymore. I choose peace. Wisdom doesn't come from thought, because thought belongs to the past and future. Wisdom exists only in this living present, where the mind rests in stillness. When you begin to know how to stop, how to listen, how to let go of the noise in your mind, you will see. You don't need another teaching, another book, or another answer, because every answer is already inside you, just waiting for you to be still enough to hear it. And in that stillness, you'll begin to realize something deeper, that every wound, every crack in your life is not a mark of failure, but the very place where the light begins to enter. There are wounds that do not bleed, yet they seep quietly through a lifetime. They are invisible. No one but you can see them. No crying, no blood, no broken bones. But every time you lie down, just about to fall asleep, they rise like a thin mist, dull, persistent, clinging to your chest. It might be a loss you never allowed yourself to cry over. A breakup too sudden, without a chance to say goodbye. A disappointment you've suppressed for so long that you've forgotten it still hurts. We often call these things the past. But if they make you sit up in the middle of the night, heart racing, body cold, if they make you doubt every new connection, afraid of being hurt again, if they keep you from sleeping deeply, from trusting completely, from relaxing when the day ends, then it's not the past. It's alive inside you right now, and you are not alone. Many people turn to the Buddha's teachings for that very reason, because they are in pain. Some are hurting from a love that never came true. Some are hurting from the loss of a parent or someone they deeply loved. And some cannot even name their pain. They just know that living like this with a heavy heart, a tight chest, restless sleep is exhausting. So the question always becomes, how do I stop suffering? And here Buddhism begins, not by avoiding suffering, but by looking directly into it. In the Four Noble Truths, one of the deepest foundations of the Buddha's teaching, the very first truth he taught was dukkha, suffering, not to make you pessimistic, but to help you see it clearly. Because only when you dare to face it, can you see the true cause behind it. And only by seeing the root can you begin walking the path out of it. The path the Buddha called the Noble Eightfold Path. The profound truth is this: the place where pain arises is also where the path can begin. Where you once fell is where you can stand again. Where you once broke may be where your heart first begins to heal. A crack is not the end, it's where the light first enters. But sadly, most of us, when faced with pain, avoid it. The one who hurt you, you avoid them. The sad memory, you bury it. When emotions rise, you grab your phone and scroll mindlessly until it all fades. But suffering doesn't disappear just because you look away. It simply waits in the dark. And from there, it quietly controls you in how you react, how you worry, how you fear closeness, and even in your sleepless nights. Many people don't understand why they get angry so easily, why they can't trust anyone, why every time they love someone they're so afraid of losing them that they can't be present in love. The truth is, that's not your personality. It's your wound speaking through another form. The more you deny it, the stronger it grows in silence. The Buddha did not teach us to erase suffering. He never told you to be stronger or to just move on. He taught only one thing: sit down with your pain. Like when a friend is crying, you don't need to lecture them or offer wise advice. You just need to be there, present, quiet, gentle. Your pain needs that too. Not resistance, not interpretation, not a strategy to get over it. Just your full presence, no running, no avoiding, no trying to figure it out. And in that very moment when you stop, look, and sit beside your pain as a friend, healing begins to take root. You don't need to be free of pain to deserve peace. You only need to begin being with your pain, the way sunlight still shines on a flower that hasn't bloomed. Peace doesn't come from conquering sorrow. Peace comes when you're no longer afraid of it. Someone once asked a Zen master, "Why do I only begin to practice after loss?" The master smiled and said, "When life is full, the mind falls asleep in comfort. Only when it shatters do we have the chance to see what we've never seen before." That answer sounds simple, but it holds a deep truth. As long as we cling to wholeness, we're not yet ready to see the impermanence of life. In Zen, there's often the image of a broken teacup, the cup symbol of all the things we once loved, once believed would last forever. When it breaks, you can grieve. You can try to piece it back together. But you can also pause and ask one essential question. Why did I ever believe the cup would stay forever? Awakening, the true beginning of the inner journey, doesn't bloom when life is smooth. It begins the moment you have nothing left to hold on to. When your assumptions about life collapse, when your faith is tested, when your heart cracks open, the only place left to return to is your own mind. And that's when the first light of wisdom begins to shine. Many people mistake letting go for ignoring, but letting go is not pretending to forget or repressing memory. Letting go means facing what happened with a new heart, one free from resentment, demands, and attachment. Imagine this. One night before sleep, your mind drifts back to a painful memory. Out of old habit, you start repeating the same questions. Why did they do that to me? If only I hadn't said that. What did I do wrong? But if you pause, take a deep breath and replace those questions with another. What is this teaching me about impermanence, expectation, and love? In that very moment, the wound stops being a pit that drags you down and becomes a stepping stone that lifts you up. That is letting go through understanding. And only understanding leads to true liberation. Modern psychology today has confirmed what the Buddha taught over 2,500 years ago. Unprocessed pain does not disappear. It stays in the nervous system, in the muscles, in the body's unconscious reflexes. For example, someone once betrayed may become suspicious, even when their current partner truly loves them. A child once abandoned may grow up fearing rejection, even if they remember nothing of their early years. Someone once scolded for showing emotion may grow into an adult who hides their feelings, afraid to open their heart. When you do not face your pain, it does not dissolve. It only changes shape. It becomes a form of self-protection, but one that paradoxically keeps hurting you. It causes insomnia, anxiety, broken relationships, and an exhaustion with yourself without you knowing why. Healing does not begin by thinking positively. It does not come from covering your wounds with a fake label that says, "I'm fine." Healing begins when you can simply accept that a part of you is hurting. And that's okay. In Buddhism, this is called mindfulness and self-compassion. You don't have to force yourself to be strong. You don't have to prove that you've moved on. You don't have to pretend the wound never existed. You just have to be present. Like sunlight resting beside a wilting flower, not rushing, not fixing, not judging. Simply being there, allowing nature to heal in its own way. And miraculously, when you sit beside your pain with full presence and empathy, you'll begin to see that pain never wanted you to fight it. It only wanted to be seen, to be remembered, after being left behind. It wants you to return, to listen, to hold it. From there, you can move forward, not by pushing the pain away, but by walking with it, with a heart that is open and a light that has begun to shine. And in that moment, when you dare to look at the broken pieces, not to regret or to blame, but to understand, you'll realize the broken cup didn't shatter to end things. It broke so you could finally look at your hands and learn not to cling. Before you go to sleep, you can practice something very simple. No big exercise, no preparation needed. Just sit quietly for a few minutes. Place one hand gently over your heart and ask yourself, is there something in me that hurts today? Don't try to find the reason. Don't replay the tense conversation from this afternoon. Don't analyze who was right or wrong. Don't rush to fix or force yourself to get over it. Just breathe, softly, slowly. Be present and whisper to the pain within you, I see you. I'm not running anymore. Even if you don't cry, even if nothing is resolved, even if no answer appears, this small act alone can begin to transform your relationship with your own wounds. When you look with the eyes of mindfulness, suffering stops being an enemy. It becomes an old friend, reminding you to slow down, to live more honestly, to live more deeply. You'll notice your sleep becomes gentler, not because the problem is gone, but because your mind no longer struggles to suppress or hide it. And the next morning, when you open your eyes, you'll step into the world not with armor and defense, but with a softer heart and a clearer mind. In the Buddha's teaching, every form of suffering is a sign of impermanence. What arises will also fade. Emotions, memories, anger, pain, none of them last forever. And because of impermanence, healing is possible. No one suffers forever if they learn how to sit with their wounds, not avoiding them, not denying them, but staying with them in awareness. Compassion, in the eyes of Buddhism, is not only something you give to others, it is the first light you must shine into the place that hurts the most within yourself. When that light is present, when you stop hating the wound, when you stop blaming yourself for being weak, when you stop forcing yourself to be okay, quickly your mind begins to revive. No need to hurry. No need to be perfect. Just be honest. And when you are brave enough to touch that crack within you, something miraculous happens. From that very place, you begin to hear the call of awakening. Not a loud demand to change your life, but a gentle whisper that you are here, that you can still feel, that you are still alive. And from that same crack, another truth quietly unfolds. Real influence doesn't come from controlling others, not from big words or dramatic actions. It comes from the calm, wise, and peaceful energy you radiate every day. That stillness doesn't need to announce itself. It spreads like the fragrance of a lotus, silent, effortless, unobtrusive, yet anyone who comes near can feel it. There is a quiet truth that many people don't want to admit. We spend most of our lives trying to change others more than we ever learn how to change ourselves. Not because we are bad, not because we don't know how to love, but because we believe that if the other person changes, we will finally feel lighter, safer, and at ease. We want the person we love to understand us more, to care in the right way. We want our children to obey so we don't have to worry. We want co-workers to be less temperamental, less careless. We want our parents to be softer, less critical. And when they don't change, according to the script we've written, we feel disappointed. We get irritated. We feel tense. And sometimes we explode outwardly or silently inside. But have you ever asked yourself this question? Are you truly seeking peace, or are you chasing control? In Buddhist teaching, there is a beautiful concept called skillful means, or upaya in Sanskrit. It refers to the wisdom of gentle, mindful action, conveying what is right in the right way at the right time to the right person without the intention to control or impose. The Buddha never forced anyone to believe in him. He was simply present fully quietly and spoke according to each person's capacity to understand. Then, he let the seed of the teaching sprout naturally when the listener was ready. Like sunlight, it never forces the flower to bloom, yet the flower blooms when the season arrives. Like the wind, it holds nothing in its hands, yet it can make an entire bamboo forest sway. That is deep influence, not from power, but from right presence. We often think, if we speak gently enough, explain logically enough, express enough emotion, the other person will understand and change. But in reality, the more we try to convince, the more resistance arises. The more we try to pull them toward us, the further they retreat, not because we are wrong, but because the energy behind our words carries unease, pressure, and expectation. Sometimes we stay silent, but inside, we're still holding on, waiting for them to change, waiting for them to realize our worth, waiting for some form of repayment. And when they don't respond as we hoped, we feel our efforts were wasted. But you know what? That is not love. That is a transaction, conditional and fragile. Love in Buddhism is unconditional. It doesn't depend on whether the other person changes, responds, or understands you. It is a quiet, steady presence, like the earth beneath your feet, holding every step, leaving no lasting mark. Have you ever been truly listened to by someone? No interruptions, no quick advice, no attempt to fix you. Just complete presence, as if you were the only person in the world at that moment. If you've ever felt that you know presence alone can heal more deeply than any teaching, when you listen to someone with a mind that doesn't rush to conclude, label, or guide you, become a mirror. In Zen, this is called the bright mirror mind. Perfectly clear, holding on to nothing, yet reflecting everything. When someone stands before such a mirror, they begin to see themselves more clearly. They recognize right and wrong, their own confusion, their own potential to change, not because they were persuaded, but because they saw the truth within themselves. No one forces them to change, yet they do. That is authentic influence born not from control, but from the energy of understanding, compassion, and freedom that radiates from you. In Zen, this is called wuxi or bushi. Doing nothing, yet everything happens. Not moving your hands, yet your stillness becomes a cool stream that softens the tension in others. So if you're trying to change someone, your partner, your family, or even yourself, pause for a moment and ask, Am I truly loving? Or am I controlling? If it's love, you'll feel light. If it's control, you'll feel tired. And in that pause, a new door opens where love no longer demands, and true influence begins with presence. When you stop trying to control others, it doesn't mean you abandon them. It simply means you give them the freedom to be who they are, with their own karma choices, mistakes, and lessons. You may see them suffer because of a wrong decision. You may clearly see a wiser, gentler, better path. But you no longer try to drag them there because you understand no one can learn another's lesson for them. Each person must walk through their own darkness before they can truly see the light. You can walk with them, but you cannot walk for them. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha taught all beings are the owners of their karma, heirs of their karma, born of their karma, related to their karma, and live supported by their karma. This is not a cold statement. It's a compassionate reminder every being has their own process of growth. You cannot interfere with it. You can only plant good seeds and trust the law of cause and effect. Those with sufficient conditions will transform. Those without will continue learning. So if you live with someone difficult, angry, or trapped in their own pain, how do you love without controlling? You can listen without interrupting. Refrain from giving advice until they're truly ready to receive. Set boundaries with compassion instead of over-enduring beyond your limits. And most importantly, care for your own inner world. Let the energy of compassion be present in your eyes, in your tone, even in your silent understanding. Then wait not in manipulative hope, but in deep trust in the process of karma. The seed you plant today may bloom in a completely unexpected moment. It's like going to sleep. You cannot order your body to heal or rest. You can only create the conditions: dim, the light slow, your breath put down, the phone relax. And healing happens naturally, quietly. It's the same with others. You don't need to control. You just need to be present with an energy free of demand and resentment. Because love mixed with control is not compassion. It is ego in disguise. It says, I do this because I care, but the truth is, I can't accept it if they don't live the way I want. True love does not require the other person to improve so that you can feel at peace. True love comes from non-self, from recognizing that your pain and mine are not separate. Your imperfection and mine are the same. I love you, not because you make me happy, but because I understand your suffering. I don't need you to change so I can be calm. I choose to release my expectations so I can return to peace within myself. That is letting go of expectation, but keeping love. That is unconditional compassion. And it is also the first step of mindfulness in relationships, being present with others without losing yourself. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to lecture. You only need to be there fully wholly with understanding. Then, if change comes, it won't be because you forced it, but because your energy was clear enough for the other person to see themselves, like still water doing nothing yet reflecting the whole sky. Buddhism teaches us to dwell peacefully in a world ruled by cause and effect. Not everyone will change the way you wish, but you can become a light warm enough, gentle enough, bright enough for someone to see their path. You don't need to push others to move faster, to understand more, to make fewer mistakes. You only need to be a calm, safe space where they can be themselves and awaken when it's their time. That is the power of upaya, skillful means, not holding on yet still moving hearts, not controlling yet still transforming, not forcing yet still shining. And to do that, there's one thing you must release first: expectation. Because expectation is what exhausts you. It is the invisible chain between you and another. It is the shadow that turns love into a burden. Expectation is one of the most subtle forms of bondage, and most people never realize it. It makes no sound. It needs no chains. It isn't violent, but quietly, it tightens around your inner freedom little by little through something that feels entirely normal. I just hope things go the way I want. We expect the person we love to understand what we never said. We expect our parents to change after hearing our feelings. We expect our children to live by the values we set. We expect life to go smoothly if we just try hard enough. And when things don't go that way, we grow tired, disappointed, hurt. At first, expectation doesn't seem toxic. It often wears a beautiful disguise. I have a good reason. I just want things to be better. Who doesn't wish for good things? Sometimes it's even called by softer names: goals, motivation standards. But over time, a deeper truth appears. Where there is expectation, suffering is waiting. Expectation is the mind's way of clinging to an imagined future. It's the voice that whispers, "This must happen the way I want. That person must behave as I wish. Life must be kind to me because I've tried so hard." And when life by its nature impermanent doesn't comply, we feel like failures. But we haven't failed. It's only that the script in our mind doesn't match the reality unfolding before us. The Buddha taught, craving is the root of suffering. Expectation is a subtle form of craving, a demand, a longing, a desire to hold on. The tighter we grip, the more we lose. The more we try to control, the less free we become. Imagine a bowstring pulled too tight. If you don't release it, it will snap. The mind works the same way. When expectation stretches it too far, it loses its flexibility, its breath, its clarity. We stop seeing what's truly here because we're comparing it to a better version that only exists in our head. So, what do? It's not about abandoning dreams, not about giving up or becoming careless. It's about setting a direction without clinging to the result, doing your best without defining your worth by success or failure, loving without attaching it to the condition. They must change. And most of all, learning to let go of expectation as an act of liberation. You don't have to give up goals. You only need to release your grip on how things must unfold. Because sometimes, what happens differently from what you expect is exactly what you need to grow. Some of the Buddha's teachings sound paradoxical, especially in our modern world. where people are taught to set goals, make long-term plans, and know what they want in 5 years. But contrary to that rush, the Buddha invites us to live without expectation. That doesn't mean giving up or neglecting responsibility. Living without expectation doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing wholeheartedly, then letting go of the result. Like a farmer, he plows the soil at the right time, plants the seeds in the right season, tends to his field each day. But once he's done his part, he cannot command the rain or the sun, nor force the plants to grow faster. He trusts the process, knowing some things are beyond his control. The truth is, the deeper you understand impermanence, the more you see that outcomes never come from individual effort alone. Everything arises from a meeting of causes and conditions. Expectation is in essence an attempt to resist that law, the mind saying, "I did this, so things must turn out this way." But life, as you know, never runs according to anyone's must. Therapists have observed something profound. Many people don't fall into depression because of true failure, but because they didn't meet their own expectations. A good job can still feel empty if it doesn't meet the imagined standard of success. A warm relationship can still feel not enough. A peaceful present can still be overshadowed by a voice whispering, "I should be doing better." All of it stems from an invisible standard, one you created and then chained yourself to. As if you were tightening an invisible rope around your neck each day, believing it's the only way to deserve happiness. You can see this most clearly at night. Before sleep, you think you've let go, but deep down, you're still waiting for perfect rest, a last-minute message, a fatigue-free tomorrow, someone behaving differently. Those tiny expectations keep your body tense and your mind restless. Your body lies down, but your heart does not. Expectation, in a way, is like ordering a seed. You must sprout today, but the seed doesn't obey you. It listens to soil, water, sunlight, and time. Just as your mind can only bloom when it lives in natural harmony, not under pressure. In the Buddha's teaching, no one can shorten the karmic process, their own or anyone else's. You can make effort, you should prepare, but fruit only ripens when conditions are ready, never earlier, and almost never exactly as planned. So letting go of expectation doesn't make you weak. On the contrary, it opens you to life's natural flow. You still work, love, and act, but without the must and should. You live fully in each action and let the outcome belong to the universe. Just like sleep, the more you chase it, the further it slips away. But when you release all demands, relaxation finally begins. In the end, the peace you seek doesn't come from what you achieve. It comes from your ability to release expectation and to be fully present with what is right now. Before you sleep tonight, try a small, gentle practice. Nothing complicated. Just lie down. Let your body truly rest on the bed as if held by life itself. Breathe slowly, not forcing relaxation, just letting your breath guide you inward. Then ask yourself one simple question. What am I hoping will happen tonight? Are you hoping to fall asleep quickly? For tomorrow to go your way with the right people, the right feelings? If so, Just notice it. Don't judge. Don't push it away. Simply see it, then whisper in your mind, I don't need to order sleep. I can't control tomorrow. I just need to let go. And that's enough. Repeat it like planting a seed. You don't need to believe it yet. You don't need instant results. Just plant it. Your nervous system will slowly remember it doesn't have to stay tense to survive, and something beautiful will begin to happen. Your body will truly soften. Your mind will stop bracing for the future. And in that very moment, sleep will return, not as a task, but as a gift. Tomorrow morning, when you wake, you will no longer be someone trying to control the current of life, but someone who knows how to flow with it, with mindfulness and an open heart. Expectation is the quiet but powerful voice of the ego, the part of us that always wants control, always believes it knows what's best. It says, I need everything to follow my plan. I want the world to meet my demands. But the Buddha did not teach mastery of the world in that way. He taught non-self, that there is no fixed I, and that life unfolds through causes and conditions, not personal will. So letting go of expectation is not giving up. It's the first step toward realizing non-self. Doing good not to be praised. Listening not to change someone. Working, loving, and living simply because it is the right thing to do in this moment. The truly peaceful person is not one who has everything, but one who no longer needs everything to go their way to feel whole. They don't say, I'll be happy if. They quietly know I am alive, I am breathing, and that is enough. When the mind no longer expects everything that comes becomes a gift. No more should have or must be. Only gratitude for each passing moment. The mind grows lighter, steadier, no longer tossed by the winds of life. Like a tree, it doesn't resist the wind. It simply deepens its roots. And from there, true freedom begins. Freedom from expectation doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey where each day you learn to release a little more, soften a little more, allow a little more, and from that release your mind opens space for the unexpected, the unknown, the unimagined. The mind stops running to the future, stops clinging to the should have been. It simply becomes present, awake, aware, and in those moments when nothing is certain, when no path is visible, when no outcome is held onto you, begin to walk through the darkness, guided by your own inner light. There are nights when you wake at 2 a.m., not because of noise, nor from a nightmare, just a vague restlessness rising from somewhere deep inside, as if your heart had brushed against an unnameable emptiness. You lie still. Everything around you is silent, yet your mind feels like it's standing in the middle of a dusty crossroads. It begins to reach for something to hold on to, anything that can bring a sense of certainty. Will I lose my job tomorrow? What is that person thinking about me right now? If everything is impermanent, then what truly has meaning? These questions come in waves, striking like the tide against stone, relentless. And the more you try to find answers, the foggier the mind becomes, as though you're walking through mist, seeing nothing, clearly unsure of where you are, or if you're even going the right way. On the path of spiritual practice, there are phases like this, times when everything feels hazy. You lose the inspiration to meditate. The motivation to chant or practice fades. Even the sense of connection to something sacred seems to vanish. You begin to wonder if you're still walking the path at all. This is the dark night on the spiritual journey, where old certainties crack open while what is new has yet to take shape. You see no light, hear no guidance. All that remains is a dim, uncertain space, and in that space, doubt arises. Doubt in yourself. Doubt in everything you once believed. But in the Buddha's teaching, darkness is not something to avoid. It is an essential part of the way. No journey is forever bright. No path to awakening is lined only with flowers. There are stretches you must walk, guided only by faith, no map, no clear destination. What matters is not the light ahead, but whether your heart is present with this very step. Many during these uncertain times look outward for rescue. They seek teachers. They read more books. They listen to more talks, or even ask the universe for a sign. Yet still they feel empty, because as the Buddha said, be a lamp unto yourself. Be an island unto yourself. That teaching doesn't mean you must know everything. It means that even when you know nothing, you can still continue as long as you are fully here. The light isn't found in the answer. It's found in your full presence with the question. A single breath, if you live it deeply, is already the way. A single mindful step upon the ground is already light. A moment when in the midst of confusion, you realize I am breathing. I am here. That alone is practice. You don't need to know where you're going. You only need to know that you haven't lost yourself. Is your heart still here? Is your breath still steady and warm? Are your feet still touching the earth? If the answer is yes, then even in darkness, you are still on the path. Darkness is not wrong. It is simply part of the process. Just as the moon needs night to shine, just as the lotus cannot bloom without the mud. Don't wait for clarity to begin, because sometimes only when you walk through the mist do you learn to trust your own intuition, to trust your own breath. No one sees everything clearly. Even the enlightened once walked through fog. And because they did not stop, they reached wisdom. So if tonight you awaken head full of questions, heart full of doubt, don't be afraid. Place your hand on your chest. Breathe in and know you're breathing in. Breathe out and smile gently. You don't need to answer all those questions. You only need to be present with them. Like sitting beside a friend, no analysis, no fixing, just presence. Then you'll see the darkness isn't as frightening as you thought. It's only the place where light hasn't yet been recognized. And you, in this very moment of uncertainty, can become the one who lights that lamp with nothing more than a single mindful breath. In meditation, there is no promise of light at the end of the tunnel. In fact, the deeper you go, the less you see, but the clearer it becomes. No illusions, no comforting explanations, only a simple direct seeing that the mind constantly flees the present moment, that it always wants to grasp what feels certain, that uncertainty makes it anxious, that it still longs for an escape, and this very seeing, not some dazzling light, is the true lamp in the night. Meditation gives you no map. It doesn't promise that you'll understand everything, but it gives you something far more precious, the steadiness to walk through the night without panic. No need to know where you're going. No need to know when you'll arrive. Only this, that each step truly touches the ground. Modern neuroscience has shown the same truth. When the brain releases its need for certainty, it opens into a new state, one of receptivity, learning, and presence. When we stop trying to control, the mind settles. And when the mind settles, transformation begins. Science calls it neuroplasticity, the flexibility and reconnection of neurons. In meditation, we call it direct knowing, awareness beyond thought. A meditator who has gone deep enough reaches a point where questions like, "Do I understand?" or "Am I right?" no longer arise. They no longer need to analyze. They just sit like a clear lake, present. And within that presence, wisdom quietly surfaces, not as reasoning, but as gentle, wordless knowing. You are the same. In everyday life, there will be times you feel lost in work and love, or in your own practice. And your first instinct is to look for answers. You want clarity, certainty, escape from confusion. But often, that very urgency leads you deeper into the fog. Some questions do not need to be answered immediately. Some phases do not require more understanding, but more pausing. Pause to breathe. Pause to listen. Pause to stop forcing yourself to be clear, to be wise, to be in control. Just place a hand on your chest. Take 3 slow breaths and gently ask, "Am I still here?" If the answer is yes, then you're still on the right path. Because in the way, no one knows the road ahead. No one carries a ready answer. As long as you can return to the breath, to the body, to the aware heart, the path unfolds right beneath your feet. You don't need to know what awaits tomorrow. You don't need others to understand you. You don't need a radiant light to appear. You only need to be here fully with yourself, moment by moment. As long as your heart still knows how to pause, how to breathe, how to look deeply, you have never been lost. And each step, however small, is still a step on the path. Darkness is no longer a threat. It is fertile ground where the seed of awakening begins to quietly sprout. Uncertainty is not a sign you're on the wrong path. It is simply the nature of impermanence. Because everything, emotions, relationships, even your spiritual journey changes. What once felt certain can turn vague. That doesn't mean you've failed. It means life is unfolding as it always does. The Buddha taught, "The wise do not seek certainty in what is impermanent. They rest their trust in the path itself." So, what is right faith? Not blind belief, not clinging to emotion. It is trust born from direct experience, the quiet conviction that comes from practicing being present and repeating each small step day by day, even when nothing feels clear. Even without a light at the end of the road, you continue with a calm heart. Not everyone finds answers, but the most steadfast ones are those who keep breathing amid uncertainty. They don't rush to understand. They don't force clarity. They simply stay honest with the darkness, honest with themselves, and they breathe. Then, little by little, clarity dawns, not from outside, but from their own patience, their refusal to give up in each moment of breath and step. In this way, even without seeing the destination, you are already living the way. You don't need to see the whole path. Just be here, with this step, with this breath, with this uncertainty. That presence is the way. It is the small lamp in the long night. It is the quiet knowing within you, shining without needing to blaze. And when you stop trying to hold on, stop demanding to see clearly, you become an empty bowl, ready to receive and ready to let go. Someone once asked a Zen master, "Why do things that happened so long ago still hurt me now?" The master smiled gently and said, "Because you haven't let them pass. You're still trying to hold the rain in your hands." It's a beautiful image in Zen, the bowl that catches rain. When rain comes, the bowl quietly receives it. When rain goes, the bowl doesn't try to keep it. It remains empty, ready for the next rainfall. But people are not as simple as that bowl. We carry within us a longing to hold on to what once moved us, whether joy or sorrow. We don't hold on because we need to. We hold on because we fear that if we let go, we'll lose a part of ourselves. So when night falls, though, the body lies still. The mind keeps searching through faded fragments of memory, an unfinished sentence, a gaze that still lingers in the heart, a what could have been that never was. You keep holding as if letting go means falling into emptiness. But have you noticed, the more you hold, the fuller the mind becomes. The fuller it is, the heavier it feels. And the heavier it gets, the shallower your sleep becomes. By morning, you wake with a heart that never truly rested. In Buddhist teaching, every phenomenon, emotions, thoughts, memories arises from conditions. They come when causes meet. They go when conditions fade. Nothing is yours to own. No person, no emotion, no experience will stay in your hands forever. Joy passes. Pain softens. You cannot hold the rain in your palm. You cannot grasp sunlight. You cannot keep a person or time or a chapter of life. You can only be present while it's here and release it when it's time to go. Modern neuroscience confirms the same truth. Each time you replay an old experience in your mind, your brain biologically doesn't know it's the past. It reacts as if it's happening right now. Your heart races, your breath quickens, your muscles tense, and once again you lose sleep because the brain thinks you're still in crisis. By not letting go, you keep reliving the same storm again and again. Letting go doesn't mean denying what happened. It means stopping the attempt to force a finished past, to keep existing in the present moment, so you can live fully in this moment with a lighter heart and a mind that understands everything comes and goes. The rain, too. And you need only be the bowl. Don't hold, don't strain, don't cling. Just be present and let the rain fall away. In Zen, the bowl isn't merely a container. It is a deep symbol of an empty mind, free from self-grasping, free from attachment to what comes and goes. An empty bowl can receive anything: rain, sunlight, wind, dust, without resistance and without holding. And when the rain is gone, it is as empty as before. That emptiness is what makes the mind vast, compassionate, and free. When you cling to something too long, a memory, a person, an emotion, you leave no room for the new to enter. The heart becomes crowded with the past, and life can no longer flow through. The heaviness you feel is not from what's happening now, but from what you refuse to release. Like hands clenched tight, how can they receive another gift? The Buddha once said, "If your hand is closed, how can you receive anything?" Letting go isn't losing. It's opening, so you can hold something lighter, deeper, something more aligned with your inner growth. Often we tell ourselves, "I hold on because I care. I hurt because I'm sincere. I remember because I feel deeply." But if you pause and look carefully, you'll see true love doesn't require holding on. Genuine love knows when to release. It knows that loving doesn't mean grasping, and remembering doesn't mean imprisoning yourself in the past. Clinging to what has passed doesn't make you deeper. It only makes you weary of a reality that no longer exists. Compassion, as the Buddha taught, is the ability to see the impermanent nature of all things, to understand that everything has its time to come and to go. From that understanding, you learn to love without possession, to remember without suffering, to touch life without attachment. When you let go, you're not abandoning your feelings. You're returning them to their true nature. Free, clear, unbound, liberating not just others, but yourself. In ordinary life, there are countless small moments to practice letting go, not through grand gestures, but through gentle choices. When someone says something hurtful, you can choose not to react right away. When your work doesn't go as planned, you can stop blaming yourself. When a sad memory surfaces, you can let it drift by without analysis. And when you lie down at night, you can release the need to control sleep. Just breathe and let the body rest. Each time you let go even a little, your heart grows lighter. Each time you release something, an emotion, a thought, an expectation, you create more space for life to flow through you. Letting go is not indifference. It's how you make your inner world more spacious, more flexible, more gentle with itself. It's like cleaning an old room. Not because the things inside are bad, but because you know it's time to let them go. Only when the room is no longer crowded can you feel its airiness, its quiet comfort. Something you may have forgotten was ever there. The mind is the same. When it's no longer packed with what's old, you rediscover a lightness in the present moment. Peace stops being something to chase it, becomes something that unfolds naturally within you. You don't have to be someone who forgets the past. You only need to be someone who doesn't let the past rule the present. The empty bowl in Zen is not cold or indifferent. It is a symbol of deep awareness. It knows what to hold and what to let go. Likewise, a person rooted in the way is not someone who has never been hurt, but someone who no longer lets pain define who they are. They can look back, smile at their old wounds, and keep walking with a calm heart. You too can become such a person, not perfect, just a little emptier each day. Empty doesn't mean lost. It means open a new dimension within you, where there is no forcing, no clinging, where everything that comes is welcomed, and everything that goes is released with gratitude. When you stop trying to hold the rain, you lose nothing. You simply return it to where it belongs, the sky. And when your heart becomes that open and spacious, you begin to hear the subtlest sound of the way, as light as wind, as clear as sunlight through clouds. It is the moment you realize peace is not something to find, but something that reveals itself when you finally stop holding on. Awakening. Many people think it's a state of peace, a place where all suffering has dissolved and every storm is behind you. But the truth is often different. Very different. Someone once asked a Zen master, "If awakening brings peace, why do I feel more sensitive? Why does my pain seem even closer as I practice?" The master smiled and replied, "Because you've stopped running, you're learning to look directly." Have you noticed? We often mistake the spiritual path for a journey toward light, gentle, warm, and free from darkness. But true light in the Dharma doesn't appear after the darkness disappears. It appears only when we have the courage to sit down, look deeply into that darkness, and stop trying to escape it. In Buddhism, awakening doesn't mean eliminating emotions. It doesn't mean you must always be calm, kind, or good. There is a subtle kind of avoidance that hides behind the label of practice. You may say, "I've already forgiven," but perhaps you've only avoided the pain. You may say, "I don't react anymore," but maybe you're just suppressing an anger that hasn't been heard. False awakening is when you're silent on the outside, but a storm rages within, sealed under a lid. And sooner or later, that storm will surface as depression, exhaustion, disconnection, or a loss of direction. Meditation is not retreating into quiet corners to hide from life. Meditation is sitting as solid as a mountain amidst the noise, chaos, and uncertainty without being swept away. Just like the Buddha beneath the Bodhi tree facing Mara, he didn't fight. He didn't flee. He simply was there, completely present, unwavering, still. And in that stillness, Mara lost his hold. You might be in a deeply emotional period, hurt, angry, disappointed, and you ask, "Am I practicing wrong? Why do I feel more fragile the further I go?" No, you're walking the right path. Because practice isn't to silence emotion, it's to sit with emotion without letting it define you. A truly awakened person is not someone who never feels sad, but someone who knows they are sad without being controlled by it. They can feel pain, yet remain present within that pain. Like someone sitting beside a river, the water still flows, sometimes fast, sometimes muddy, but they don't jump in. They simply observe. The simplest practice is to start breathing. When a feeling rises, instead of reacting, pause. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly, and ask, "What is this emotion trying to tell me?" Not to analyze, but to listen. because sometimes anger is the heart's way of saying I'm hurt. Sadness is the echo of something not yet healed. Even your silence is a voice calling something inside you that has no words yet. You can't sleep deeply if your mind is still trying to control, still holding on to what happened, still pretending you're fine when you're breaking inside. But when you learn to be present with everything, the calm and the restless, the light and the dark, you're truly practicing. You don't need to be strong all the time. You don't need to be positive all the time. You just need to be honest with yourself. Even if parts of you are still raw, unresolved, imperfect, the light can still appear. Because light doesn't need you to be perfect. It only needs you to be present. That is the essence of awakening, not running away from emotion, but embracing it with a steady and open heart. Not pretending to be silent, but shining a small light exactly where it's darkest within you. When you show up like that, not only do you heal yourself, but people around you begin to change too. Because in the presence of someone who has stopped running, who has looked deeply without judgment, others feel invited to return to themselves. That is quiet transformation. No preaching, no pressure, no noise. Just a small lamp enough to light the way, enough so that no one remains lost within themselves. There is one truth shared by both modern psychology and the Buddha's teaching. Emotions don't disappear when you ignore them, they simply change form. A sadness unacknowledged can become chronic anxiety. A wound left unhealed can turn into emptiness, fatigue, or numbness. Someone who pretends to be fine for years eventually realizes they've lost genuine connection with themselves. The heart grows cold, not from apathy, but from habitually masking feelings under layers of positivity logic, or I'm okay. But the more we cover, the lonelier our emotions become. And the lonelier they are, the further we drift from ourselves. Awakening, according to the Buddha, is not sitting until your emotions vanish. It is seeing them clearly without being fused to them, like a mother watching her crying child. She doesn't rush to silence or scold. She simply stays holding the child in unconditional love. Emotions are the same. They don't need to be fixed. They just need your presence, your awareness, your compassion. And when you're lost in turbulence, unsure what to do, return to your first refuge, the breath. No need to force solutions. No need to control emotions. Just breathe. Inhale, know you're inhaling. Exhale, know you're exhaling. That is the small lamp in the night. It may not light every corner, but it's enough to keep you from losing your way. No matter how fierce the storm outside, you still have a place to stand this present moment. Psychology calls it grounding. Buddhism calls it mindfulness of breathing. Different names, same essence, bringing you out of the maze of thought, back to the foundation of life itself. Someone once said, "I'll start practicing when things calm down." But in truth, it's when things fall apart that practice truly begins. Because awakening isn't something you wait to do when life is easy. It's not an extra skill, it's a way of being. And the test of that way is when life doesn't go as planned, when relationships become strained, when work collapses, when emotions surge like high waves, when everyone else has turned away. That is your sacred opportunity to return, not to escape, but to stay. Not to win over your emotions, but to see them, recognize them without being swept away. Awakening doesn't ask you to respond the right way. It only invites you not to abandon the present moment. Just breathe, just feel, just stop pretending. Sometimes that alone is enough to shift the whole current of your mind. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the foundations of mindfulness, the Buddha taught contemplate the body in the body, feeling in feeling, mind in mind, and phenomena in phenomena, to see clearly without attachment. That is the essence of mindfulness, not to change emotion, but to see it clearly in stillness and understanding. Awakening doesn't tell you to stop being sad or angry or to always be strong. It simply invites you to look deeply, to see that sadness, anger, and fatigue are but passing waves in the ocean of consciousness. Awakening is compassion for yourself, knowing you're tired without forcing yourself to stand, knowing you're hurt without rushing to push it away, knowing you're weak without judging yourself. When you can sit quietly with yourself in the storm, you are no longer the one who runs. You are the one who learns to light the lamp from within. Tonight, if your mind feels tangled, stop. Imagine a small light glowing in your chest. It doesn't have to be bright, just warm. Not strong, just real. That light won't chase away the storm, but it will keep you from losing yourself in the dark. Place your hand on your heart. Breathe slowly and whisper, I am here. I am not running. I choose to be present with all that is. Then you can close your eyes, not as someone escaping life, but as someone who has learned to stay with peace, with understanding, and with deep compassion. Because sometimes one mindful breath, one small inner light is enough to guide you through the night without fear. Awakening is not a special state for special people. It's an utterly human capacity, the choice to face rather than flee, to light a lamp in your heart, even when you know the night is long. And in that small light, you begin to see more clearly why you hurt, why you strain, why you keep carrying burdens that were never yours to bear. There are people who live their whole lives carrying pain that was never theirs to bear, not because they are bad, but because they are too kind. Not because they are careless, but because they care so deeply that they forget where their own boundaries begin. They hear someone cry and instantly feel guilty. They see someone suffer and immediately want to take that suffering away. They believe compassion means hurting with others. But that is a deep misunderstanding, and it is the hidden root of their unspoken pain. The Buddha taught, one with a loving heart is not shaken by happiness or sorrow. Compassion is not dissolving yourself into another's pain. It is being fully present, able to listen, to understand, to empathize, while keeping your heart clear and steady. When others suffer, you don't need to suffer with them. You only need to understand their pain, to be kind to it without adding judgment, guilt, or self-blame. It's like two people standing in the rain. One is cold and wet without an umbrella. The other can share shelter, offer warmth, but doesn't need to stand uncovered. If you try to take their place, both of you will be soaked, and neither will have the strength to help the other. In modern psychology, this is called emotional contagion, absorbing another person's mood like a sponge absorbs water. You listen to someone's complaints and feel heavy. You sit near someone anxious and your chest tightens. You speak with someone angry and suddenly you're tense too. It isn't your fault, it only means your heart is open but unguarded by mindfulness. True compassion doesn't mean opening every door of your heart. It means opening with wisdom, knowing where healthy boundaries lie, what is your responsibility, and what needs to be released. Buddhism calls this compassion with insight. Without wisdom, compassion becomes weakness. But when guided by wisdom, it becomes strength healing, not by absorbing others' pain, but by staying rooted in yourself. In Zen, there is a simple but profound practice. Sit quietly. Breathe. Sense the edges of your being. Imagine each breath forming a gentle circle of light around you. Each inhale receives peace and loving energy. Each exhale sends kindness outward without losing yourself. This is the practice of mindful presence with healthy limits. You can love others without being swept away. You can listen to suffering without turning it into your home. The Buddha said, "You and I may stand in the same rain, but I cannot wear your hat for you." That is not indifference. It is wise compassion. You cannot cleanse another's karma. You can only show them the path. And if they are ready, they will walk it. If not, you can still stay beside them, not to pull them forward, but to remind them they are not alone. Even the Buddha never erased anyone's suffering. He only showed the way. True love does not make others dependent. It awakens in them the power to stand on their own. You are not the one who carries others' pain. You are the one who holds the lamp. Remember this. Your presence is enough. You don't have to fix, replace, or suffer on behalf of anyone. Just be there with a non-judging heart, a mind that hasn't lost itself. And tonight, if you are holding a sadness that isn't yours, take a slow breath. Place your hand over your heart. Whisper softly, "I see this sadness, but I am not this sadness. I can love without carrying. I can understand without holding on." That's all. Light as the wind, yet as deep as coming home. Psychologists call this emotional burnout, the exhaustion that comes from helping others while forgetting yourself. The more sensitive your heart, the more likely you are to fall into this trap, believing, "If I don't carry it, who will?" But the truth is, no one can save another while drowning. Real compassion never burns you out. It teaches you when to step forward and when to step back. A compassionate person knows the mind is the source of all giving. If that source dries up, you have nothing left to share. Helping others sometimes means knowing when to stop, to rest, to breathe. When the mind is calm, healing energy flows naturally. You don't have to convince or do too much. Simply being fully present, kind, and grounded is enough. But if you meet others with a restless mind, even your softest words may carry unease. So each night before sleep, practice this simple ritual. Sit quietly for a few minutes. Close your eyes. Place your hand on your chest and ask, what feelings am I carrying that aren't mine? Whose anger, whose worry, whose sadness am I holding? Don't analyze, just exhale deeply and silently say, I return all energies that are not mine. I keep compassion, but release the burden. In that moment, you'll feel a space open in your chest, not empty, but light. Light enough to breathe again. Light enough to truly rest. Light enough to love tomorrow without exhaustion, because genuine compassion never harms the one who offers it. It protects your energy like a lantern guarded from the wind, so no one has to walk alone in the dark. If compassion lacks wisdom, you get lost in others' suffering. You feel their pain, but can't stay balanced. You love so much you disappear into their story. If wisdom lacks compassion, you become cold, clear, but distant, intelligent, but dry. The Buddha taught, as a bird needs two wings to fly, one must have both compassion and wisdom to be free. Compassion helps you understand and open your heart. Wisdom helps you discern and let go at the right time. Together, they allow you to stand in the storm, yet stay dry, to walk in suffering, yet remain peaceful. Sleep is the mirror of your mind. If you go to bed carrying others' emotions, your mind keeps working, still talking to tired souls even in dreams. But when you can let go, sleep becomes a sacred act of healing. Before sleep, practice 3 small steps. 1. Recognize. Who or what has made your heart heavy today? Name it without judgment. 2. Breathe slowly. Each breath whispers, I understand, but I do not hold. 3. Release gently. Imagine those foreign emotions dissolving like clouds fading into the wind. This is not only a meditation before bed, it's an art of living. Because when you can let go, you don't lose kindness. You simply stop carrying what was never yours. And when your mind is both clear and soft, you'll see compassion doesn't make you weak. Wisdom doesn't make you cold. Together, they make you free, free to love without pain, to help without caring, to live among the world and still rest in peace. A truly compassionate person never strains to love. Their love is effortless, like the fragrance of flowers carried by the wind, gentle, yet transforming the whole space around them. When you live in mindfulness, your energy becomes calm, deep, and light. It is this stillness, not your words, not your actions, that truly touches others. You don't need to bear anyone's sadness to prove your goodness. You don't need to absorb their pain to show empathy. You just need to be there, listening without judgment, seeing without projection. In your calm presence, others begin to see themselves. They recognize their own suffering, its roots, and start to transform it. That is the art of wise compassion. To love without carrying, to help without losing, to walk among the world, yet keep your heart clear as a mirror. And when you live like this, you become a quiet lamp, not dazzling, not loud, but bright enough that anyone who meets you feels the gentle warmth of real peace. When you no longer carry the emotional weight of others, your mind becomes light like a leaf after the rain. Only then can you truly hear life with the ears of wisdom and see people with the eyes of compassion. But there is another burden more subtle, heavier still, the burden of your own heart, regret, self-blame, and the endless "if only." That is the true prison of the mind. There are people who don't really live in the present. They live inside a past that has long since died. They don't realize that every time they revisit an old regret, they are rebuilding their own prison and locking themselves inside it once again. Regret does not turn back time. It cannot change the past. It only traps you in an outdated image of yourself, a version that is never enough, never right, never complete. Letting go of regret is a declaration of inner freedom. It doesn't mean forgetting. It means you no longer let those memories dictate your present. The human mind tends to hold on to unfinished moments, a word you wish you could take back, a choice that could have gone differently, a second where you wish you'd been more awake. These endless if-onlys, if left in darkness, become chains around the heart. In psychology, this is called rumination. When the mind replays a memory again and again, like a record stuck on one sad note. Each time you think back, your brain doesn't know it's over. It reacts as if the pain is happening right now. And so the wound never heals because you keep scratching at what has already scarred. The Buddha said, "No one bathes twice in the same river. Yesterday's water has already flowed away, and the person stepping into the river today is no longer the same person as before." Regret, when seen deeply, is an illusion of control. The mind says, "I could have done it differently." But the truth is, in that moment, with that level of understanding, that emotional state, that life condition, you did the best you could. The wise do not turn back to condemn who they were. They pause, learn, and move forward with a steadier heart. Meditation doesn't teach you to erase memory. It teaches you to see memory as shadow, not substance. You don't need to throw away your past. You only need to stop insisting that it should have been different. Your pain doesn't come from what happened. It comes from the impossible wish that it could have been otherwise. When you see this clearly, the pain begins to lose its power. Psychological studies show people don't regret mistakes themselves. They regret believing they could have avoided them. But life is not a simulation that lets you rehearse until it's perfect. Life is original. Each act is carved into the moment, unrepeatable. So why keep punishing yourself for not knowing what you couldn't have known then? If you understand better today, it means you've grown. And that growth was nourished by your past mistakes. The Buddha never said live perfectly. He said live mindfully. Mindfulness means seeing what arises in the mind without becoming it. When regret appears, you see it. You don't rush to suppress it. You don't let it swallow you. You simply sit beside it like sitting next to a child crying over something that can't be changed. You don't have to heal the past. You only need to stop carrying it like heavy luggage. Before sleep, if your heart still feels uneasy, place your hand on your chest. Breathe slowly and whisper, "Yesterday has passed. I have learned. I am growing." Then exhale as if dropping a small stone into a still pond. Light, without clinging, without repeating. Peace doesn't come from a flawless past. It comes from not reliving old mistakes in your mind. That is the first step toward inner freedom. Many people fear that if they let go of regret, they'll become careless, that releasing pain means repeating mistakes. But letting go is not forgetting. In Zen, you only release what you truly understand. It's like learning to swim. At first, when you fear the water, you cling to the float. But once you know how to swim, you no longer need it. Not because you forget, but because you understand the water itself. Likewise, when you see why things happened the way they did, when you recognize the emotions, conditions, and state of mind behind your actions, blame becomes unnecessary. You don't need to keep a wound open to remind yourself not to do it again. You don't need to repeat, "I was wrong. I'm terrible. I'm to blame." It may sound humble, but often it's the ego's subtle way of staying in control. Unable to accept that life is uncertain, that we all make mistakes, that we're all still learning how to be human. Regret without insight becomes another form of ego, a hidden attachment to who you were. It keeps you locked in the old version of yourself instead of letting you grow into who you're becoming. Those who follow the Buddha's path do not live in guilt. They do not torment themselves with if-onlys. They see, understand, learn, and let go. The Buddha never taught us to carry guilt forever. He said, "When you see you have done wrong, awaken. Awaken not to judge yourself, but to begin again with a clearer mind. If tonight your heart feels heavy because of something long past, if an old image keeps returning as you close your eyes, if a question still lingers without an answer, try this small practice before sleep. Sit quietly. Close your eyes. Don't push the memory away. Don't try to fix it. Just look as if watching an old film. Not to criticize, not to regret, but to understand what was truly happening inside you then. Then gently ask yourself, what have I learned from this? If the answer arises with even a trace of gratitude, that's the sign you are no longer living in regret. You've turned it into understanding. And when understanding arises, memory loses its power. It no longer hurts. It simply becomes part of the road you've walked. At that moment, you might feel a light breeze move through your heart, a quiet signal that tonight you can sleep a little deeper because you've released something old. You don't need to forget. You only need to stop holding on to what has already taught you enough. That is the most silent and profound kind of liberation. The Buddha taught, past karma cannot be erased, but it can be transformed. Every action, word, and thought leaves an imprint. That imprint is karma. But karma is not a life sentence. It's like a seed. It can grow toward light or toward darkness, depending on how you tend it with mindfulness and compassion in the present. When you recognize a mistake, the first feeling of regret is natural, a sign of awareness, the bell of conscience still ringing. But if you keep turning it over, feeding guilt again and again, that regret becomes new karma, the karma of self-punishment. If instead you reflect deeply, seeing the causes, accepting the lesson, and resolving to live better, then karma is transformed. What once bound you begins to dissolve. This is mindful repentance. Not begging for forgiveness, but understanding and freeing yourself through insight. The Buddha said, "Just as ashes cannot become wood again, one who truly repents cannot return to their old ways." It means that when you truly understand, you are no longer the same person you were. When the mind changes, karma changes too. Regret often visits at night when the world is quiet and the mind replays the day like a film. That's when we fall into the loop. Remember regret, blame, worry. Instead of fighting these thoughts, return to the breath, your most honest friend. Inhale, simply knowing you're breathing in. Exhale, knowing everything has passed. You don't have to forgive yourself through logic. Just breathe, because each breath renews you. The breath itself is proof of impermanence. No two breaths are ever the same, just as no mistake ever needs to repeat. When you see this, you realize karma isn't punishment. It's an invitation to awaken. And this very breath is proof that you can begin again, now. Before closing your eyes each night, take a few quiet minutes to return to yourself. First, reflect gently. No judgment, no comparison. Just ask, what did I learn today? Even if it's something small, a moment of patience, a single mindful breath, it matters. Next, breathe and forgive. With every exhale, whisper inwardly, I release what cannot be changed. Don't try to fix the past, just let it fade like smoke in the wind. Finally, smile with gratitude. No matter how clumsy or imperfect the day was, you are still breathing, and that means you still have the chance to live better tomorrow. This gentle practice is a form of healing meditation in sleep. When the mind relaxes, the body resets. The brain stops sending signals of stress. You'll find yourself sleeping more deeply, more peacefully, as if your mind has been washed clean by gratitude and release. Those who keep looking back can never truly move forward. Those who keep clutching old memories no longer have hands to receive the sunrise ahead. If the past is a book, finish the chapter and turn the page. No one asks you to forget. No one asks you to tear it out. Just stop living inside the same old lines. When you release regret, you lose nothing. You simply give freedom back to your own heart. And in that freedom, the mind becomes clear, ready to see the beauty of this moment. Regret is an invisible prison. No one locks you inside, you lock the door yourself. And letting go of regret is the act of opening that door to let the light in. But to truly walk out, you need a bridge between your tired body and your restless mind. That bridge is not made of words or reason. It takes the shape of a single breath. Because breath is the thread that leads you back to the present, and only in the present can you live fully and lightly. Breath, the bridge between body and mind. There's something most people never notice. We spend our days busy rushing, doing, and forget that we're breathing. The breath, quiet, steady, patient, is the thread that ties us to the present moment, the doorway that leads us back to ourselves. When life spins fast, when the mind feels tangled, when you don't know where to begin, there is only one thing to do. Return to the breath. That's all. And it's enough. Enough to keep you from being swept away by thoughts. Enough to keep you from breaking under life's pressure. Enough to bring you home to that inner space you've forgotten is always there. You can lose money, people, direction, but the breath remains. Quiet, unwavering. It doesn't ask you to succeed or prove anything. Every time you come back to the breath, you pull yourself out of the storm of anxiety and step into the stillness of presence. You don't need to read a single scripture to begin. Just whisper silently. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I let go. Simple as it sounds, when practiced with full awareness, it can transform the way you live, love, work, even the way you fall asleep. In the Anapanasati Sutra discourse on mindfulness of breathing, the Buddha said, "Whoever knows their inhalation and exhalation clearly, that person dwells in mindfulness." Mindfulness isn't something lofty. It's simply the ability to know what you're doing while you're doing it. And the easiest thing to recognize always available to you is your breath. Body and mind often move in different directions. The body sits, the mind wanders. The body eats, the mind worries. The body sleeps, the mind stays awake. The breath is the bridge, the only bridge that can bring them back together. And only when body and mind reunite do we truly live, not merely exist. Many people say, I can't sleep. My mind won't stop thinking. My body is tired, but my head won't rest. That happens because the mind has no anchor. It keeps chasing thoughts, worries, memories, and what should be rest turns into a struggle. The breath is the lifeline for a drowning mind. You don't need to stop thinking, that only creates more tension. Instead, gently shift your full attention to the breath. Bring the mind back to the only thing happening right now. The body breathing. You can lie down, close your eyes, and whisper inwardly. Breathing in, I feel my belly rising. Breathing out, I feel my belly falling. Just 5 to 10 minutes of this each night before sleep can quiet the excess thoughts and invite the mind into deep rest. The breath not only helps you sleep better, it becomes the foundation for a more mindful, calm, and wholehearted life. In the soft glow of evening meditation, what we most need isn't a grand teaching, but a single breath. A breath so simple it's often forgotten, yet so profound it can transform the entire state of body and mind. Modern neuroscience now confirms what the Buddha taught over 2,500 years ago. When you follow your breath slowly, steadily, and deeply, the monoparasympathetic nervous system, known as the rest and digest system, activates. This is the system that allows the body to rest, restore, heal, and fall into deep sleep. But when your breathing is shallow or rushed, when the mind is ruled by anxiety, fear, or stress, the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight mode takes over. The body tightens. The heart races, breathing becomes fragmented, and sleep, if it comes at all, is light and restless. That's why returning to the breath isn't just a spiritual practice, it's a biological one, a direct way to shift your state from reacting unconsciously to being consciously present, from defending against life to opening to life. Each slow inhale whispers, "Everything is okay." Each slow exhale says, "It's time to rest." You don't need to meditate for hours to do this. Just 3 moments each day. 3 chances to return home. 1. Morning as you open your eyes. Don't grab your phone or rush into messages, schedules, or plans. Simply place one hand on your belly, inhale slowly, and exhale fully 5 times. Let that be your ritual of greeting the new day with peace instead of tension. 2. Midday, when stress begins to rise. Sit quietly for 3 minutes. You don't need to act like a perfect meditator. Just watch your breath, do nothing else. Let your mind rest like a warrior laying down his sword to wipe the sweat and regain clarity. 3. Evening before sleep. When your body is weary after a long day before surrendering to rest, breathe evenly for a few minutes. No thoughts, no expectations, just breathing. It's a way to wrap up the day with presence. The breath doesn't require complex philosophy, it only asks for your presence. If you observe closely, you'll notice something beautiful. Inhalation is active. Exhalation is release. The Buddha taught, to exhale is to let go of all grasping. To exhale is to return to emptiness. In that moment of exhalation, you hold on to nothing, neither in body nor in mind. You let go of fear, you release tension, you drop the past into the ground of the present. And right there in that space of nothing to hold, peace appears. Not peace borrowed from advice or silence elsewhere, but peace arising from within, born of a single breath released. This isn't philosophy. It's experience available to anyone. No noise, no memorized doctrine, no need to be a good practitioner. Just stop and listen to your breath. The breath will teach you everything. It will teach you to move slowly in a world that's always rushing. It will teach you to observe instead of react. It will teach you to relax without giving up. It will teach you to walk through a weary day and still keep a quiet space in your heart. Someone once asked me, "Who was your meditation teacher?" I smiled. I learned from the breath. When I am fully present with it, every lesson appears, and so can you. Tonight you don't need a thick book or a difficult teaching. Just return to yourself through a single breath. A deep breath like a door opening into a new world where you don't have to become anyone else. You just need to be who you already are, breathing, releasing, alive. And that alone is a miracle. Many of us at some point in life have whispered to ourselves, "I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know where I'm going. I don't even know what I want." Those questions sound big, but often the search for answers only leads us further astray, because some truths aren't solved by thinking. They can only be heard through presence, and the breath quietly and faithfully is always waiting. It doesn't judge you for being lost. It doesn't ask you to be strong or certain. It only asks you to pause and realize, I'm still breathing. If you pay attention, you'll see. When you're tired, your breath is heavy. When you worry, it's short and shallow. When you're caught in emotion, it becomes jagged and broken. But when you feel each breath going in and out clearly, you know you are here alive, connected to your deepest self. If one night you lie awake, unable to calm your mind, try this simple practice. 1. Close your eyes. 2. Whisper inwardly, breathing in, "I recognize this anxiety." Breathing out, "I release this feeling." 3. Don't try to make it quiet. Don't control anything. Just breathe and know that you are breathing. You don't need to act spiritual. You only need to be honest with your feelings, with your body, with the rhythm of breath rising and falling like waves. At first, the mind won't settle. It may resist, complain, replay old scenes. But if you stay patient, not forcing, not suppressing, not chasing, just breathing and observing, then like a lake after the wind, slowly it will grow still. Still not because it's forced, but because it finally knows it doesn't need to struggle anymore. Then sleep will come like an old friend returning, gently, naturally, without effort. The breath, small as it seems, is the only thread that can pull you back from the whirlpool of thoughts, the bridge between a weary body and a restless mind, the gentle reminder that you don't have to go anywhere. You just have to be here, and then something strange happens. When you stop striving, stop searching, stop trying to define yourself. Right there, wisdom begins to bloom, not as a blinding light, but as a deep silence within. A silence not from emptiness, but from completeness. A silence vast and light, and you suddenly understand without words you were never lost. You had only forgotten that you could always come home with one mindful, present breath. There are questions in life that the harder you try to answer, the further you drift from the truth. The more you chase a solution, the more lost you feel, like wandering through a maze where every turn ends in a closed wall. And there are confusions that only tighten when you try to untangle them, like a knotted thread that grows tighter each time you pull. Sometimes what you need is not another answer, but less noise. Not more analysis of right and wrong, but a pause, like someone standing in the middle of a storm who chooses not to move, allowing the wind to pass. Wisdom is not born from tense effort. It's like a seedling after the rain. It doesn't sprout because it's forced, but because the soil is soft enough, the air is clear enough, and the heart is calm enough. Have you ever felt this? When your mind is tangled like a ball of yarn, the more you think, the more exhausted you become. You replay every assumption search for every missing detail construct, endless theories, only to end up tired, drained, and mentally knotted. At that moment, you don't need more analysis. You need a pause, a still space, a place within where you stop trying. Like a lake rippling in the wind, if you keep stirring it, the surface will never be still enough to reflect the sky. But if you sit quietly by the shore, patient and unmoving, each wave will settle on its own. And one day, when you're no longer waiting, the sky appears in full clarity. Inner silence is not giving up. It isn't resignation or helplessness. It's another form of courage, the courage to stop struggling, the courage to release the need to understand, to know, to explain everything. In ancient scriptures, the Buddha was often asked immense questions. Is the universe finite or infinite? Are the body and mind separate? After death, does the enlightened one still exist? These questions were asked with desperation and longing. Yet the Buddha chose silence, not because he didn't know, but because he saw that sometimes the insistence on knowing is what blinds us from seeing. Questions arise from the intellect, and if answered, they only strengthen the intellect, the very thing that cannot touch ultimate truth. What you truly need is not an explanation, but a direct experience. A seeing born of silence, not reasoning. In Zen, there is a stage called the mind like drifting clouds. When meditating, you don't try to chase away thoughts. You simply sit and let each thought pass like clouds crossing a mountain peak. No grasping, no analyzing, no clinging to the past or chasing the future. Just presence with each breath, each rustle of leaves, each heartbeat. And when the mind grows quiet without resistance, understanding naturally arises. Like morning after the rain, no one needs to pull the sprout from the soil. It grows on its own when it has absorbed enough. Wisdom doesn't come from trying to be smarter, but from being still enough to see clearly. Mindful silence is the purest form of insight. It's not a suppressed silence, but the release of the need to speak, to know, to explain. It's giving the mind permission to stop and to rest. So tonight, if you find yourself tangled, restless, uneasy, try sitting quietly, not to analyze, not to seek an answer, just to be silent with your breath. 1 minute, then 3, then 5. Let everything pass like a river flowing by. And if you're patient enough not to stir the lake, something gentle will appear, a quiet clarity. Not an answer, but a knowing that you no longer need to know anything more in order to rest in this very moment. And that is the wisdom you've been searching for. We live in an age surrounded by voices from others, from social media, from endless news, from advertising comparisons and expectations, until you begin to wonder, which voice is mine? What do I truly think, truly need? You go to bed exhausted, not because your body is worn out, but because your mind has been pulled all day from one thing to another, from unfinished stories to unresolved worries. The mind never stops, and you can't remember the last time you returned to yourself. In such a world, inner silence is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Like water, sleep, or love, it's a spiritual essential. Without it, you can't heal. You can't think clearly. You can't truly rest. So before sleep, try this simple practice for 5 minutes. Sit or lie quietly in the dark. Breathe gently, slowly, without control. Whisper inwardly, "I don't need to know anything more. I just need to be still." When thoughts arise, don't push them away. Don't follow them. Just breathe and notice. You don't need a miracle. You don't need the mind to be instantly calm. But if you truly let go just a little, you'll sense what you've been missing all day. A quiet space within begins to open. Not because you understood more, but because you finally stopped trying. And right there, peace begins to grow. Research on mindfulness-based cognition reveals a profound truth. When the brain is not cluttered with repetitive thought loops, the regions linked to creativity and intuition become more active. In other words, when the mind is quiet, solutions appear on their own. When the mind is still, wisdom shines. By contrast, a person who doesn't practice mindfulness has tens of thousands of thoughts a day, mostly fragments of memory, worry, imagination, and repetition. These thoughts don't bring clarity. They only create more confusion. A meditator is different. They don't try to think less, but to see their thoughts clearly. And through that clarity, each thought becomes more refined, like light passing through a clean lens. The Buddha didn't teach us to control thoughts. He taught us to see them clearly, to observe the mind within the mind. Not just having a mind, but understanding how it operates. To see clearly, you must step back. To see deeply, you must be still. Like a person crying, their eyes blurred by tears. Only when they stop and wipe their face do they finally see what they misunderstood or held on to wrongly. We often think compassion means doing something, saying or acting to help. But a deeper form of compassion is simply to be present with someone in silence. No preaching, no interruption, no judgment. Just sitting beside them with a patient, open heart. In that silence, the other person feels safe, understood, without needing to explain. Many kinds of pain cannot be spoken, but a quiet listener can reach places that words never touch. Silence is not an escape from life. It's a way to live more deeply, to see more clearly, to love without condition. That's why the Buddha sat beneath the Bodhi tree, not to abandon the world, but to face every illusion. In perfect stillness, he no longer followed the whispers of desire, fear, or pride. And when all that noise fell away, the truth appeared as softly as sunrise after a long night. Inner silence, then, is not a technique, it's a path that leads you back to yourself. A path where compassion and wisdom no longer oppose, but support each other, like two wings of the same bird flying through the sky of awareness. There are many simple ways to practice silence in daily life. No temple or ritual needed. Just a few mindful pauses between the rush of living. Before answering a question, pause and take a deep breath. That short silence helps you respond with clarity instead of impulse. In a meeting, allow yourself to just listen without hurrying to add your opinion. You'll be surprised, the less you speak, the deeper you understand. When someone is angry, instead of reacting, choose kind silence. Not silence to hide, but silence that doesn't add fire. And before bed, spend a few minutes doing nothing. No phone, no plans, no effort, just breathing. These small pauses are not small at all. They're sacred reserves of mental energy. Each time you stop, you give your mind a chance to rest. And when the mind rests, light begins to spread, not a blinding light, but the gentle glow of wisdom. In that quiet space, everything becomes clear without force. Wisdom is not the result of thinking, but a flower that blooms naturally when you stop and listen. You don't have to search for wisdom somewhere far away. You only have to nurture enough silence. Just as the earth must be still for seeds to sprout, the mind must be still for insight to arise. And in that stillness, you will see compassion isn't about striving or sacrifice. It is simply being present, fully awake, and filled with love. Many people believe that to prove their kindness or love, they must endure, carry burdens, and sacrifice themselves completely. But in the Buddhist teaching, compassion does not mean losing yourself to save someone else. Compassion is the light of wisdom, and it is that wisdom that determines when to reach out and when to let go. Have you ever been in such a situation? You help someone expecting them to change. When they don't, disappointment sets in. Then comes self-blame, thinking you weren't good enough, patient enough, or loving enough. And gradually, what began as pure kindness turns into a heavy weight, so heavy that you can no longer tell the difference between love, responsibility, and exhaustion. Modern psychology calls this empathic distress, a state in which you don't just feel for someone's pain, but absorb it as if it were your own. You fall into their emotions, lose your boundaries, and as a result, both of you become drained. They don't get better, and you end up tired, hurt, and confused, both sinking into a spiral of guilt, pity, and helplessness. The Buddha taught those who try to save others but forget to save themselves will fall into the same pit. This sounds simple, but it contains a profound truth. Helping without wisdom is ignorance. It's a confusion between true compassion and emotional attachment. In the teachings, metta means the wish for others to be happy. Karuna means the wish to ease their suffering, but without panna, the wisdom of clear awareness. Metta and karuna can easily slide into pity, interference, control, or even coercion. If someone is drowning and you don't know how to swim but still jump in to save them, what happens? You both drown. But if you stand firm on the shore and throw them a rope, then you can truly help. True compassion doesn't come from taking on another's suffering. It comes from being firmly grounded within yourself, and from that steadiness sending out the energy of mindfulness, peace, and understanding. Only when you are bright enough can you light the way for others without being pulled into their darkness. When someone is in pain, they don't need a person who preaches. They need someone who can simply sit beside them without judgment, without rushing to comfort, without trying to fix, just sitting fully present. That presence is like a lamp in the night. The lamp doesn't say anything, yet its light helps the others see their own path. The path They must walk themselves. You don't have to carry another's pain. You don't have to suffer in their place. You only need to be present steadily and sincerely. In that steady presence, others feel understood without being forced to change. And when they are no longer pressured, they finally have the space to heal. That is true compassion. A love without attachment, without condition, without clinging. A love born from mindfulness and wisdom. A love that doesn't drain you, but makes you more grounded, peaceful, and open. A suffering person is like a strong gust of wind, filled with fear, worry, and despair. If you are easily shaken, you will be swept into the storm with them. But if you remain steady like a tree standing firm in the wind, your calmness and mindfulness become the place where they rediscover their own breath. Your stillness becomes a mirror, reflecting the peace they had forgotten. The Buddha once said, "One who dwells in mindfulness is a refuge for all beings." He didn't say the best teacher or the most active helper or the strongest person is the refuge. He said the one who dwells. Because healing energy doesn't come from effort, it comes from deep, steady presence. Many believe compassion means giving everything, helping endlessly, even sacrificing themselves. But giving without awareness leads to exhaustion. Like a lamp that is never refilled with oil, its flame fades away. True compassion is giving while keeping your inner flame alive. It's knowing when to extend your hand and when to release it. Not giving out of fear that others will suffer, but giving because your heart is already filled with light. In psychology, this is called the savior complex, when someone feels compelled to help fix or carry others in order to prove their worth. But underneath that urge lies an untouched emptiness, and the more they try to give, the more they feel lacking. Helping becomes an escape, not true love. The Buddha taught one who lights the way for others must first keep their own lamp burning. Before sharing your light, make sure your flame is still alive. Don't force yourself to love when your heart is empty. Don't try to heal others when you yourself are broken. Compassion begins with returning to yourself. That's why meditation is not a technique. It's an act of love. When you sit in meditation, you are not abandoning life. You are returning to your body and mind to listen, to breathe, to befriend yourself. Not to fix or change, just to sit there gently, patiently, kindly. When you can be present like that with yourself, you naturally become present with others in the same way. No forcing, no need to be understood, no proving anything. Just sitting steady, silent, loving. Without saying a word, others already see the way. Without doing anything, their pain begins to ease. That is compassion born from meditation, not loud, not doctrinal, but real, like a lamp quietly glowing in the night. There is a simple way to tell whether your compassion is genuine or rooted in attachment. Notice how you feel after helping someone. If you feel light, calm, and peaceful without resentment, that is compassion with wisdom. But if you feel tired, drained, or hurt because you weren't appreciated, or they didn't change as you hoped, then that's not compassion anymore. It's subtle attachment of the ego. The Buddha taught compassion must go with letting go. It means love must be paired with release. You help wholeheartedly, but without clinging to results. You don't expect gratitude. You don't demand change. You simply open the door, and whether they walk through it or not is up to them. Sometimes letting go is the most compassionate act, not because you've stopped caring, but because you know they need to learn to stand on their own. Refusing to help at the right time when done with wisdom and unconditional love can be the deepest form of compassion. Many people lose sleep not because of their own suffering, but because they carry the suffering of others. They worry about parents, children, partners, friends, until their hearts have no room left for themselves. They go to bed thinking of others and wake up already tired from the night before. If you find yourself restless at night, pause and ask, is what I'm carrying truly mine? Perhaps half your burden belongs to someone else. Kindness does not mean bearing the world's pain for others. Compassion is not carrying, it is breathing with. It is being present without being swept away. Try a simple breathing meditation. Breathing in, I know this is not mine. Breathing out, I return it to where it belongs. Repeat it silently like a gentle reminder. Soon, you'll feel lighter, less burdened by emotions that were never yours to hold. Your sleep will deepen, and your compassion will become clearer, free from blind empathy. Studies from Stanford University show that people who practice compassion meditation properly have stronger activity in the brain regions related to peace and well-being, while those in empathic distress show heightened activity in stress regions. In other words, compassion with wisdom heals. Pity without awareness harms both sides. Just like the breath, you cannot only exhale without inhaling. If you keep giving without replenishing your energy, love will run dry and you'll feel empty. Compassion is not giving until you collapse. It's giving mindfully and knowing when to rest. Taking care of yourself keeps the light alive so you can continue to light others. A wise person understands that everyone has their own karma. No one can practice love or live on another's behalf. You don't need to change anyone. You just need to be there, steady, loving, and awake. When someone is in pain, you don't have to fix them. Just sit beside them, place your hand on theirs, and breathe deeply. That unconditional presence itself is the greatest healing gift. No advice needed, no effort required. Just presence, and they will begin to see the light within themselves. That is true compassion. Before you fall asleep, take a few moments for a simple but profound practice. Place your hand over your heart. Breathe in slowly and simply. Recognize I am alive. No other words needed. Just your full presence with this breath, that alone is a miracle. Then exhale gently and imagine sending a wave of peace to someone you hold in your heart. Don't wish for them to change or to be instantly happy. Simply think, I offer you the calm energy of my heart in this moment. If someone worries you, a child, a parent, a partner, or a suffering friend, silently tell them, I trust that your path will unfold at the right time. Then stop. No need to imagine outcomes, no need to control anything. Just keep breathing, like a quiet prayer, carrying love without pressure, because true love is not holding on. It's like light. It doesn't try to shine. yet it naturally spreads. And in that moment, you are not only blessing others, you are healing yourself. Compassion is not a burden. It is the quiet light of wisdom, knowing when to hold on and when to release. A person who loves rightly doesn't try to save everyone, nor do they strive for perfection in all things. They understand that life doesn't need a perfect ending. In the Buddha's teaching, all things are impermanent and all relationships flow. If we cling to a perfect conclusion, we suffer because the truth is, nothing truly ends. There is only continuation. There is an illusion many people quietly hold on to, the belief that everything in life will eventually come to a perfect ending, a clear explanation, a sincere apology, a moment of recognition, a closure, like in the movies. They think that once that happens, the pain will fade, the mind will rest, and the heart will stop aching. But in truth, and in the deep practice of meditation, not every story has an ending. And peace does not come from an answer, but from the ability to accept. Silence. The human mind has a natural desire for completion. We want every circle closed. We want to know, why did that happen? What were they thinking? Do they ever regret it? We want an explanation, believing that understanding will help us let go. But often that desire is just the ego's hidden way of seeking control. Deep down, uncertainty makes us uneasy. When something is unclear, the mind runs in circles, analyzing, imagining, replaying, all in the hope that, if I can just know why, I'll finally be at peace. But the truth is, some questions will never be answered. Some apologies will never be spoken. Some actions will never be explained. And if you keep waiting for a perfect ending, you may wait your whole life. The Buddha did not teach us to find out who is right or wrong. He taught impermanence, that all things change, non-self, that nothing truly belongs to anyone, and letting go, not because things don't matter, but because holding on causes suffering. In the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha compared a person who has been struck by an arrow. Instead of pulling the arrow out, they become preoccupied with who shot it, from where, and why. The wise do differently. They remove the arrow first, because knowing who shot it does not ease the pain. Only letting go brings healing. Modern psychology also talks about closure, the emotional need to see things concluded. But that closure doesn't have to come from the other person. It can and should come from within you. Many people receive apologies, but still can't forgive. Others never receive any explanation at all, yet find peace because they've stopped waiting. You don't need to understand everything to be at peace. You just need the courage to stop holding on. Sometimes, letting go of the need for an answer is the answer. And when you accept that not every story needs an ending for you to be at peace, that's when you truly begin to live. No longer trapped in the past, no longer lost in expectation, but resting in the present, where the mind is at ease and the heart is free. When you meditate, you begin to notice subtle movements within yourself. Emotions arise without clear reason, not tied to anyone or anything. Fragments of memory surface, vague, unfinished, like leaves drifting across a pond. And thoughts come and go without warning, without goodbye. Meditation doesn't ask you to understand everything. It doesn't tell you to analyze each emotion, dissect each memory, or control every thought. It teaches one simple but profound thing. See, breathe, let go. No judgment, no reason, no explanation. Just presence. In awareness, everything naturally appears and naturally dissolves like clouds passing through the sky. No need to chase, no need to cling, and so it is in life. Not everything needs a clear conclusion. Not every relationship ends with a perfect goodbye. Not every wound comes with an apology. Not everyone who leaves will explain why. When your mind is haunted by questions like, why did they leave? Why did they change? Why didn't they say goodbye? Pause. Let your breath be the answer. Instead of running through endless questions, gently whisper to yourself, I don't need to know, I just need to breathe. I don't need closure, I just need peace. Each exhale is a refusal to chase control. Each exhale is a return to the only place life truly happens, this moment right here. A common misunderstanding is that healing requires someone else to return, to apologize, to explain. But true wholeness doesn't come from others, it comes from within. You are whole not when the story is explained, but when you no longer need an explanation to rest in peace. You can close your eyes, place a hand on your heart, and tell yourself, things have been as they are. I no longer seek. I let it go. And you'll feel a quiet shift, not an ending, but a doorway opening from within. A new space where the past no longer binds you, and no one outside you needs to do anything for you to feel enough. The Buddha said, all conditioned things are impermanent, and all phenomena are without self. This means nothing follows the script you imagined. No one truly fits the image you hold in your mind. No relationship remains perfectly whole forever. Each person is a current in the stream. Each event is a passing trace. Each meeting is a temporary crossing in the great dream of life. When you demand a beautiful ending, you are resisting the impermanent nature of all things. You want the river to stop at the bend you love most. But rivers don't stop, and neither do people. Peace does not come from keeping what is beautiful. It comes from walking through everything, even the unfinished, without losing mindfulness. Let meditation teach you how to live peacefully within impermanence. No need for closure. Just one mindful breath. And in that breath, you'll begin to see forgiveness needs no reason, letting go needs no condition. Peace is not found in answers. It's found in returning home. If you keep staring at the closed door, you'll miss the new ones quietly opening around you. If you keep waiting for an apology from the past, you may overlook the kindness present today, in a glance, a gentle touch, or someone who listens without needing to explain. If you keep trying to finish a relationship that's already over, you might forget the one relationship still unfolding, the one with yourself. An awakened person doesn't chase after perfect endings. They simply live each day with enough clarity to know what to keep and what to release. They continue living even with unfinished stories, but their heart is calm because they no longer demand perfection in closure. The Buddha never promised that everything in life would end neatly. He only taught, see things as they are and let go like a cloud. A cloud never asks why it must dissolve. It dissolves simply because its time has come. Your story is the same. It may still feel unclear. It may never be fully explained. But that doesn't stop you from living a peaceful day. Wisdom does not seek conclusions. It only sees clearly and rests without clinging. Not every story needs a defined ending. Not every relationship needs closure. Not every dream needs to take form. Your mind doesn't need another conclusion. It just needs one more moment of awareness. And when you release gently at the right moment, everything returns to its natural place. To do that, you need somewhere to come home, to a center deep within where you can sit, breathe, and know that you are still whole, even without apology, without explanation, without a movie-perfect ending. Because in that place you no longer need closure from the outside. You already have wholeness within, and that is true peace. Many people believe that meditation is something lofty or mysterious, something that requires intense discipline, or the ability to reach a state of complete emptiness. They imagine that to meditate means sitting perfectly still with no thoughts, no emotions, no sounds disturbing the mind. But the truth is much simpler. Meditation isn't about doing anything to become awakened. It's simply the art of sitting with yourself. No additions, no effort, nothing to achieve. Just returning to the place that has always been here. Only you haven't stopped long enough to truly touch it. You cannot stop the wind from rising. You cannot command the ocean to be still. And you cannot press a button to stop all thoughts in your head. But you can sit in the middle of the waves without running, without resisting, not to control, but to see clearly. Meditation is learning to sit in the midst of restlessness without being swept away. You don't wait for the mind to be calm, for life to settle, or for peace to appear before you begin. You sit right in the storm and choose not to struggle. Like the ocean, no matter how many waves rise in the depths, there is always still water. Your mind is the same. On the surface are emotions, thoughts, memories. But you are not those waves. You are the ocean itself. And stillness doesn't come from magic. It comes from practice, steady, gentle, and without judgment, a little every day. At first you might think, am I meditating yet? Why am I still thinking so much? But the very moment you notice that you're thinking, you're already meditating. Meditation doesn't demand that you stop thinking. It simply invites you to see your thoughts without identifying with them. A teacher once said, meditation isn't about becoming calm, but about seeing that you are not calm and accepting that. It is in that acceptance that the mind begins to settle on its own. In the Anapanasati Sutta, discourse on mindful breathing, the Buddha taught, breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I release. Simple and profoundly deep. Meditation doesn't require enlightenment. It only asks you to return to the body sitting here to the breath flowing now, to the emotion rising in this moment. No labels, no resistance, just seeing, just breathing, just being. Because in modern life, our minds are pulled in every direction. When you worry about tomorrow, the mind has gone far ahead. When you regret yesterday, it has gone back again. When you are lost in social media, news, praise, or criticism, you drift further from your still center. And at the end of the day, when you lie down and feel exhausted, it's not your body that's truly tired. It's your mind drained from chasing everything outside. Meditation is how you return, like recharging a battery, not through effort, but through presence. All you need to do is sit and truly breathe. A little each day. Gradually, the mind learns the way home. That path has always been within you. You've simply forgotten how to walk it. With your breath, there is a place no one else can enter. No one can control it. No one can hurt it as long as you know the way back. It is the still center within the deepest space of consciousness, untouched by words, actions, failures, or past pain. It doesn't need effort to exist, proof to be accepted, or the urge to become anyone else. Meditation is the path that leads you back there to what has always been present but long forgotten. Many people say, "I don't have time to meditate," or meditation is for those with free time. But ask yourself, do you have time to worry? Do you have time to overthink stress and react all day? If you can spend 10 minutes scrolling on your phone, you also have 10 minutes to return to yourself. Instead of scrolling, you can close your eyes, listen to a breath, notice an emotion rising and let it fade like smoke. Instead of reacting in a heated conversation, you can pause and breathe slowly, giving yourself a moment to return to your quiet center, still as a lake. Meditation doesn't require mountaintops or perfect rooms. It only requires one thing: knowing where you are, what you feel, and who you are in this moment. That is mindfulness. Modern neuroscience shows that when you pause and stop chasing constant thoughts, your brain resets. The emotional regulation centers become more flexible. Your clarity and decision-making improve. People who meditate regularly are not those without problems. They are those who know how to return, so they are not drowned by problems. Meditation is learning to slow down, not to become passive, but to act with awareness. A meditator is not someone who never feels anger, sadness, or pain, but someone who sees those emotions passing through like clouds drifting across the sky, without clinging, pushing, or avoiding. A memory may arise. A fear may knock. A desire may surface. But instead of reacting out of habit, you simply sit and see it's coming, and it will go. Your mind shifts from reacting to witnessing. And in that witnessing, you are no longer trapped in the role of the wounded self, but return to your true nature, still spacious and selfless. From that emptiness, insight begins to sprout. No forcing, no effort to understand. It simply appears like the moon reflected on a lake once the surface grows calm. Returning to that center isn't escaping life. It's so you can step back into it again with clearer eyes, a softer heart, and lighter steps. Because now, you know you already have a place to come home to, and no one can take it away. Try a simple practice so easy that you can do it anywhere, anytime. Sit quietly. No perfect posture. No ideal space. Just stop. Place a hand on your chest or your belly where you can feel your breath, and whisper silently, "Now is home. I return to my center." Don't try to reach anything. Don't wish for calm or clarity. Just be as you are. Do this 3 times a day, short but consistent. After a few weeks, you'll notice something profound. Everything outside remains the work. Relationships, pressure, uncertainty. But inside a space of peace begins to grow. Not because life has quieted, but because you've learned not to lose yourself within it. Meditation is not a skill to master. It's the way you walk, eat, breathe, listen, and quietly return whenever your mind drifts away. Not to reach a special state, but simply to stop striving, to stop becoming, and just be as you already are. If you practice consistently, you'll notice fewer conflicts, deeper sleep, slower reactions, and most of all, a gentle closeness to yourself, a feeling you may have forgotten long ago. In this noisy world, meditation isn't escape. It's the quiet home within you, needing no decoration, no sign that says I'm practicing. It only needs you to remember the way back. Meditation doesn't turn you into someone else. It brings you back to who you were before the world's standards, expectations, and roles pulled you away. And from that center, life begins to change. Not because you've learned something new, but because you've let go of what's unnecessary. Fears, burdens, unanswered questions, so you can live clearly, moment by moment. And the miracle is this: the moment you are present, you begin to heal, not through technique, but through the gentle act of returning. Quiet, simple, real. Tonight you don't need to chase silence. Just stop and let the noise exist. No resistance, no correction, no grasping. Let it come and let it go. And when all sounds fall away, what remains is you. You undisturbed, undefinable whole. Whisper to yourself like a quiet prayer. I don't need to understand everything to let go. I don't need control to find peace. I don't need to hold anything to be complete. Then breathe in softly, as if your heart has finally exhaled after a long journey. Breathe out deeply, as if releasing the whole world, no longer needing to carry it. Letting go is not losing. It is returning to yourself. We don't let go because we give up. We let go because we are awake enough to see nothing needs to be held to prove we have lived. You are not the keeper of the rain. You are the bowl that quietly receives each drop and lets it go ready for whatever comes next. And tonight, as you drift into sleep, you don't need to try to be okay. You don't need perfect answers. You don't need a beautiful ending. You don't need to know why. You only need one thing: presence and trust. Peace doesn't come from controlling everything. It comes when you stop trying to control what can't be controlled. And then peace is no longer a destination. It is you, just as you are. Thank you for staying until the very end. If among all these words just one made your breath soften, just one image eased your heart, then that is enough for tonight. You don't need to do more. You don't need to be better. You don't need to become anything else. Just rest. Just return. Just let go and let the Dharma carry you through the night. If this journey has helped you, share it with someone who needs rest. Leave a comment so others know they're not alone. And if you wish to continue these moments of quiet meditation, subscribe to Buddhism Seeds and turn on the bell so we can meet again whenever you need a place to return to. You have done enough for today. Now, rest deeply. Let every drop of rain fall and quietly dissolve. Let your heart expand wide enough to touch the freedom already within. May you have a gentle night, a deep sleep, and a mind empty yet full. We will meet again in silence and in light.